ready to lead into Derek Walker, our lunchtime keynote. But before we begin, I would love to introduce you to our platinum sponsor for ONBrand21, Trimmer Video, which I'm pretty sure is tastefully named after my favorite Kevin Bacon movie featuring underground monsters. Can't verify that, but I'm pretty sure. So I would like to invite Maddie Hutton to share a few words and to introduce our keynote speaker. Maddie has been the Nebraska account executive at Trimmer Video for the past year and a half, and she is extremely excited to be participating in this, her first on-brand conference experience. So please welcome Maddie to the spotlight.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today and for letting us be a part of this. I'm really honored to represent Trimmer. For those of you who don't know, Trimmer is a leader in the video advertising space. We have a suite of innovative solutions that range from connected TV to all-screen video to display, all accessible via managed self-serve and PMP. We simplify the complexity of digital video through scale, creative expertise, and customer service. So we're really happy to have a presence in Omaha and love working with all of our clients there. But with that said, I'm here to focus on Derek. So Derek is a creative who, in his words, has been blessed to work in advertising for nearly 30 years. He's worked at and on the good and the bad, and that's his words too. Today, however, Derek is here to talk about DE&I and more with his talk. I don't want to talk about DE&I either, the perfect time to talk about it. No one really wants to talk about this in advertising. Talking about race in America makes us extremely uncomfortable, but it's time for us to get uncomfortable. Clients have accused agencies of being stale and predictable in their thinking and that we are not providing anything new or different. Well, now, how can we provide something new and different if all of the advertisers look the same? Diversity, equity, and inclusion are not feel-good initiatives. They are sound business principles. It has been proven that the more diverse teams produce more creative and effective work. Today, Derek is going to talk to us about how to accomplish this. And with that, welcome, Derek.
I have to unmute myself. Thank you very much. And I want to apologize ahead of time. I have no idea how to fix this, but I'm going to try anyway. Ain't that crazy? If you hadn't noticed, I'm Black. I used to think I was really a dark-skinned white guy with a really deep, rich tan, but I figured it out that I am, Black. And it's been an interesting journey to be Black in advertising in America. I started at the University of South Carolina, go Gamecocks, and it's garnet. It isn't maroon, garnet and black. I'm not gonna say who called it maroon, but he has a hat on. And worked on the client side for 12, almost 13 years before I got into advertising after graduating in Atlanta. Of all cities, I couldn't find a job in advertising. And I think I have Ripley's, I should have registered for Ripley's, believe it or not, for the world's shortest interview. I drove 4.5 hours to Atlanta for an interview, and I'm gonna let the Southern come out in me, so I say Atlanta. We don't finish the word. Parked, took the elevator up. I had been talking to the receptionist for a while. This is back in the days when I didn't care to have a Southern accent, so we killed the accent and any inclination of who we are. And this is before cell phones and all of that and social media. And I walk in and I say, hello, I'm Derek. And her face, the blood drains from the receptionist. And she goes, you're Derek. And I'm like, yes. How are you doing? We've talked a couple of times. She gets up from the desk of a 300-person agency, receptionist desk of a 300-person agency, and says, excuse me, and sort of runs down the hallway to the CEO's office, leaving the phone to ring, no help, no nothing. I'm just standing there, portfolio in my hand, nice suit, because I'm out of college. Nobody told me that ad people dressed like bums, but we learned that later. And she brings back the CEO who I had spoken to through email, through letters, and actually letters. That's how long ago. This is 1987. There was no email and phone calls. So he comes out, introduces himself. I'm going to save the agency. I'm not going to use his name because he's still in advertising. Shakes my hand and says, "Pleasure to meet you, Derek. I'm sorry, but our clients aren't ready for a Black copywriter." And that was the end of the interview. I sat in their parking garage longer than I was in their office, fuming. I mean, just in a rage. He could have saved me a lot of trouble. He could have just been honest a long time ago. Well, and the other flip side is I didn't think to tell him I was Black. I didn't think it mattered. He liked the work in my portfolio, loved my resume. That was 1986. And here in 2021, I'm still hearing their stories. I'm not tired or angry anymore, though. I'm not frustrated. I'm hopeful. Let me start by saying DE&I is the cleaned up version of affirmative action. We have ignored that word. Those two words are the bane of our existence because they come with so much luggage. And we've gone to diversity, inclusion, and equity. And we still don't get it. We don't look at our social media pages as individuals and see that we only have one group of people on our pages. We don't look at our company website photos about us and notice that we have more dogs or pets than we do Black people. We choose not to see it. We choose to ignore it. And that might be our greatest sin. It's one thing to just, I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, grew up in the South. My father was in the Army, but he was stationed in the Southeast, 13 different cities. I like Southern races because they let you know where they stand. I know who I'm dealing with. But we as an industry, we really refuse to let people know who we're dealing with. So when we talk about diversity and equity and inclusion, I'm going to drill right to the fear. To be more diverse, to increase equity, to be more inclusive does not mean you have to exclude anyone. No one has to lose a job unless, and this is an agency owner, this is a creative director talking now, unless we have people on staff who are not as qualified as they should have been in the first damn place. And we know this, but we have granted them the privilege to work for us because of how they look, not what they can do. Whether that's male, female, or any of the other sexual orientations, or Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Latino. I don't think, I've heard something about Latinx is not a good phrase that came out this week, so I'm gonna leave that one off. Whether they're handicapped or challenged or whatever, the second we give preference to one group over another, we have done our clients a disservice. Agencies are like so how do we solve this, Derek? we define the problem. Think of it as an ad campaign. How do I convince white advertising professionals that we need to be more diverse? Let me tell you a secret. Hiring young Black people and brown people is not the answer. Saying you can't find senior folks like me is not the answer, because guess what? I can list out maybe almost damn near 200 of us. We have never been the problem. I went to the University of South Carolina, majored in journalism, graduated in the top 10% of my class, was the president of the ad club for 2 years, did everything, got all the honors. I can't make me more attractive to a client, to an agency. So we have to ask, what is it that we have, what can we do to convince? And I'm looking over at the questions every now and then, so forgive the bald spot on my head. I'm getting there. So I'm looking, and I don't have my glasses on, so I'm trying to read, see if there's a question. There's not one. But what we have to do is have these conversations. We've got to be willing to be uncomfortable. Everyone's a good person. But if everyone's a good person, how does this problem still exist? Yes, you can go to historically Black colleges and universities to hire, but you guys are in Omaha. Did I say that right? Dave, did I get it right? Okay. If I have a choice between Atlanta, Charlotte, and Omaha, guess guess who loses out? And I mean, that's the reality of it. But have you sold Omaha to a group of Black professionals? Has the community put together a message that says it's welcoming? Has your agency put together anything? It's not enough to be colorblind, but you're talking about, I talk in analogies. It's like having a dinner party. And for the longest time, you've hosted these regular dinner parties and you've only invited certain people. Now you've decided you want to open the dinner party up to other folks. You have got to extend the invitation. You have to acknowledge, and this is the hard part for leaders, you have to acknowledge to that group that they haven't been invited because they understand that they haven't been invited. I think women understand this better than men. Women haven't been invited to the top levels of many agencies for decades. So when we opened up after the Me Too movement, and we opened up and we started doing this, what we did was we talked to women. We said, we were wrong for excluding you. Now we're trying to get better at this, but we're going to stumble through it. Race is the third rail in America. Absolutely nobody wants to talk about race. I don't want to talk about race. But I understand that if we don't talk about it and explain that people have been uninvited, then, and Eric, you're right. Aaron, you're right. I'm sorry. It isn't my problem. I can't fix how white people think. Anyway, I'm going to come back to that. I like her comment. But if we can't talk about it, how do we address it? What client would we allow to avoid a major problem or issue and just create ads in total oblivion to what's really wrong? We wouldn't. So we define it like we do a problem for a client. Then we develop a strategy, and then we work out the campaign. What's the messaging? But along the way, we have to understand that we are not talking to Black people or brown or women or handicapped or LGBTQ. We are talking to those in power, and we have to change how they think. And let me say this in all honesty, and this is, I think among Black people, it's a big frustration. we don't think our white counterparts are evil. We think this is an unconscious bias that when pointed out is where the problem comes. If I say something about it and you get defensive, then understand the conversation can't happen. It's not about, and I'm not looking to get something I haven't earned. David to tell you, and me and David Moore are friends, for those that know David Moore. So I'm going to refer to him because he's the only person I know really on this. So it helps to have somebody you know sometimes. I'm a bad man in advertising. I have been a bad man for a long time. I know my shit. I've won the awards, and I have existed in a system that didn't want me for 26 years before I opened my own agency. That's like running a race with one leg tied to the other and your arms tied behind your back and a weight put on your, an extra weight added to your back. And I still place. I don't ask for anything. Let's get away from the narrative of Black people don't know about advertising. We grew up with Bewitched like everyone else, and 20-something, 30-something, whatever the shows were, all the shows that everybody else learned about advertising off of TV and in the media. Guess what? We consumed the same stuff. So it's not a problem that we don't know about it. I was in the 8th grade, so good Lord, I don't even know what year that was, in the 70s, wanting to be a copywriter in Columbia, South Carolina. So let's kill that myth. We're not creative enough, or we're not experienced enough. Have you seen Motown? Have you seen hip hop? Y'all gonna make it. See, sometimes it makes me want to curse because I really want to say, really? So if it's not our problem, it's got to be yours. And that's not a bad thing. It's about thinking. Oh, I'm looking down. I'm trying to see. And Aaron, where's Aaron? Do I see Aaron? I don't see Aaron.
I'm right
Aaron
here.
asked,
Sorry.
okay, it's a white person's problem as white people. We have to be willing to confront. Let me read Aaron's comment. I've heard it said that racism is not a Black person's problem. It is a white person's problem. As white people, we have to be willing to confront our role in upholding systems that historically and actively purposely leave out people of color. That includes systems within our own organizations. We cannot move forward unless we are willing to initiate and have these conversations. Thank you. Let me show you how insidious it is. When you post a job listing, and ladies, watch how they do this. Watch how we do this. When we post a job listing, because this is how we do it, it will say 4 years of experience, this, and that. When I'm hiring a white guy, and I'm even programmed this way, I do this. I caught myself, I had to change this behavior. And he doesn't have 4 years, but he has 2 years of experience. He's never worked on this kind of account. What we say is we can grow him to this position. But when we're talking about women and minorities, we hold up and we go, she doesn't have 4 years of experience. Well, she needs to go get 4 years of experience and come back. We don't see the potential to grow them into the position. Is this racism? No, this is bias and prejudice. But it's more insidious because we see the potential in one group of people while we require the reality in someone else. Cindy Gallup tweeted, if you want to find Black people in your organization to fill a higher position, look 2 or 3 steps down. because the system is designed to keep them there. I never smile in photos because I've always been told to smile to disarm white people, to put you at ease. My entire life, I've been told to be smaller. I'm 6 feet. I'm not as, because and I learned this as a child. So inside your organization, how do you look at talent? Are you already coming with a preconceived notion that so-and-so is more creative, more experienced, more knowledgeable? It's what we do at Harvard and Yale. Harvard and Yale are colleges and universities. Yes, they supposedly have the best instructors and whatever, but I don't believe that crap. I believe genius exists in any school. No school makes you smarter. You make you smarter. So somebody who decides to study their ass off at the University of Nebraska is going to be just as smart as somebody who decides to study their ass off at Harvard. That's diversity, inclusion, equity, all of that wound up. When we don't, now here's the funny part, we do not believe that. We call a group of schools the Ivy League. I have met talented creatives from the Midwest, but the Midwest doesn't win the ad shows. So I guess you guys aren't as creative as everybody else. You aren't as brilliant. You're sucky compared to New York and Chicago and LA and Seattle and Portland. You're not like Wyden. Wyden's, I mean, you can't compete with Wyden. I believe that's some bull. I believe what it is it's the perception that we place on them. Now, if you understand that, and it boils your blood for us to look at the Nebraska community, advertising community, and go, you're weak because you're in Nebraska. Understand what it means to tell women that they are less because they are women, or blacks because they're black. So what we have to look at is inside those systems, as Aaron's talking about, what internally are we doing? Better yet, what internally are we not doing? David wants me to talk about my Black History Month efforts. For the last 3 years, during Black History Month, I have profiled at least 28 professionals, Black professionals, not legends, not people out of reach, but real working professionals at every level, most of them seniors, because the idea that senior Black talent doesn't exist is a problem in and of itself. To date, I think it's roughly, because we had some repeats with last year, because last year was my last February was my last time doing it. I presented work, so we had some repeats. We roughly had about 78 to 82. Of that 78 to 82, 16, I believe, have gotten senior positions at agencies or on the client side. Another 12 to 13 have been picked up on freelance assignments for big agencies and small agencies, but they've gotten work through it. But what we did is every day I showed you some new talent. And people got to know each other. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to get out of our box. Marketing Twitter and marketing LinkedIn. I don't do this. Let me do air quotes. Marketing Twitter and LinkedIn exist. And they're voices of different hues and genders having conversations. Is your agency on that, paying attention to who's talking? I found these people just by listening. I'm tracking right now. I'm not a recruiter. but I am right now tracking a little above 382 Black creatives. I'm not even Black creatives, but Black advertising professionals. And I know them because I wanted to know them. I found them on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. I don't know them all personally because, you know, like white people, like Black people, we don't know all Black people. You don't know all white people. You know, no, that's, Dave's like shocked. You know, there's no secret society for that. So part of that is the willingness of leadership to look. You can reach out to people like myself, Kenny Thacker, Walter Gear, Lincoln Steffens, Tiffany Warren. There are tons of us that have built up networks, but you have to do the work. I can't do it for you because, first of all, I'm not a recruiter. I give these people names out as free. Ashley asked, how do you move forward DE&I initiatives in your company while also avoiding burnout or dealing with that feeling of it not needing to be your job as the only minority? Wait a minute, Ash, my boss is Black. No, where's Ashley? Ashley? Yes, I'm looking for Ashley because there you are. Hello, Ashley. See how I switch my voice? That's my soothing voice. Oh no, let me quit. I wanted to see your face to answer this. You don't own it. You can't own it. What you have to do is encourage your leadership to own that. I've always followed my bosses. If there's anybody on this call who has gone into their business and made their boss do what they want them to do, I need to meet you because you are the best advertising professional on the planet. The head leads where the body follows. And I'm hard on leaders. You know, leaders have to do this. So you avoid burnout because you don't make this your job. You can't speak for all Black people. You know, Black folks are Democrat and Republican and Libertarian and Socialist and Communist. You can't cover that. That's a weight you should not carry.
And I do want to say my leadership and my past 2-3 jobs, the leadership was on board. I think it's just because they're like, you don't know what you don't know. And so we view you as the resource and you're a person and you want to do that because you care about it and want to push it forward. And so how do you just gather other resources or help that not solely be like, I want to help when I can.
You help by pointing them in the right direction, giving them names and books and tools. But if you do this, you can't do your job because it will burn you out. Organizations do need a DEI person, but I think the owner, the chairman, the chairperson, the president, whatever the top person is the DE&I person. I own an agency. It's a tiny little agency. But let me tell you a secret. If I wake up tomorrow and say, we're moving the agency to Charlotte, North Carolina, and let me be clear on this, I own this. It is mine. If I tell you we are moving tomorrow to Charlotte, North Carolina, you have a choice. You can either move or you can find another job. That is the vision I have for the agency. Any leader that puts forth DE&I initiatives without that kind of commitment, without goals and measurements and an obligation or a responsibility by other members of management to meet those goals. See, my people don't get to say, well, we're going to stay in Columbia and you can do whatever you want to do. I have never seen where my bosses were serious about something that it didn't happen. So if you are not more diverse, inclusion, and more equitable and all of that, then that's on you. I believe I'm in the studio by myself, so I believe someone's at the door, but anyway, they'll be at the door. But the hard questions are, why don't we see more leaders in these meetings asking questions? See, don't delegate this. Don't give this to somebody else. This is your responsibility as the boss. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And it starts at the top and it works its way down. What we're seeing too often at the agencies is it's starting at the bottom or the mid-level and working its way up. And that just can't happen. Well, it can happen, but change doesn't happen that way. When my boss says, when I worked for somebody else, when my boss said, do this, and I want it done in this time frame, it happened. What leader wants their staff to be more diverse, and it doesn't happen? You know, set goals. Tell people what you want. I mean, and on paper, make it part of their evaluation as management. But the other part to it is grow your people. I expect everyone to grow. That's what inclusion is. Inclusion is you brought somebody into an organization, not only to simply exist, but to grow inside that organization. So I'm not only saying grow. If you have a plan for your Black employees, you have a plan for all your employees. It is unfair to do it any other way. This isn't about giving me an advantage. This is about leveling the playing field. And guess what, people? Some of you leaders have been collecting checks without doing the damn work. Manage your people, grow them. Put in the time and develop your folks. I got in advertising, we used to have training programs. You know, lean times, we got rid of training programs, but can we look at our current situation and can we afford not to be training our people?
Derek, I think you might be touching on a question that Maria asked earlier in the chat. She was curious to hear your view on inclusion, but staying away from tokenism.
What, we gonna kill everybody at the agency? We've been working under tokenism forever. It's just been tokenism of white guys. White guys have, I'm sorry. Somebody was at the door, so I had to send them a message. And I don't mean to be snide or smart about it, but it's so funny that we don't realize we've always had tokenism. It was just for a group of people at a larger level than we realize. Read that to me again. The instant that I heard that word, and it bothered me.
And maybe if Maria is comfortable popping on just to make sure I'm getting the question right. She was curious to hear your view about on inclusion, but staying away from tokenism. So how can you?
You can't. Okay, here's why. When you hire that first senior Black person or that first woman or whatever, he or she is the only one. They don't see themselves as a token. That problem is with somebody else seeing them as a token. We talk about imposter syndrome. It's not, I don't have imposter syndrome because I have to know who I am. I have to be grounded in who I am. The idea that I feel like a token, no. I know I'm the first Black in the creative department, because guess what? I'm the first Black in the creative department. Now, how you treat me determines whether or not you think I'm a token. Do you give me assignments, and do you treat me as fairly as you treat everyone else? I don't need you to go easy on me. I don't need you to go hard on me. I need you to treat me like you treat everyone else. That's what. When we start seeing people as different, and I get in trouble with this one all the time. When I talk to women or I talk to men, because my father was a drill instructor in the Army and he had male and female recruits. And he used to say, I don't see anything but green when I'm training people, because how I train them would determine whether or not they live or die. Male or female, they can die. And I sort of, some of that rubbed off on me, and people go, you spoke to her like that. No, I'm sorry. I spoke to the person like that. I speak to guys like that. I'm going to speak to everyone like this. I don't change in relations to your person, you know? If I do that, am I seeing you as a human being, or am I seeing you as your gender or your race or your handicap or your ability? And this may bother people, but understand that I get riled up. And David has seen me do this and get in trouble for it, because I do this with clients. I don't see titles. When you don't see the title and you see the person, if they say something that's just foolish, now I don't call them an idiot. I don't call no one an idiot. But if they do something that's foolish, I respond to it the same way I would to anybody else. And we as leaders have got to get to this. I don't think women are weaker. I don't think Black folks are more sensitive on the issue of race and stuff. So if I don't think that, then I don't approach them like that. We're equal. Equal means you get this. You get me. So when we talk about inclusion and tokenism, I require that you do your job. Now, if you flub up, I'm a big fan of making mistakes. I don't fire people over mistakes. I really and truly don't. Because if I fire folks over mistakes, then I don't have anyone left. So this is just me in my crazy head. This is how I work. But what I do is, everybody makes the mistake. If three people make the exact same mistake over time, I'm hoping and praying I treat each one of them exactly the same about that mistake. If I don't, then we're talking tokenism. To me, inclusion says I go at them the same way. I expect my copywriters to understand that the headline is the first line of body copy, because I preach that. And it flows into the body copy or the radio copy or anything. And I have to use this because this is what we're talking about. So when I hire a copywriter, I talk to them about that. And I'm talking to the writer, the copywriter. Doesn't matter whether the copywriter is male or female, that I am upset that there's not a connection between the headline and the first line of body copy. Or is that inclusion? See, we talk these words, but let's talk about what they really mean. When somebody does a good job, it doesn't matter whether this person is male or female, that they did an excellent job. No, they did an excellent job. That's where I struggle with this idea that people are that we have to address tokenism because it's something inside someone else. If you look at me and you think, well, he's an affirmative action hire. I have been called that to my face, an affirmative action hire. And I think I responded pretty good. I didn't, I told my boss, I said, go get a brief that neither one of us has seen and give us 4 days to work on that brief. And you and 3 other creative directors judge our work, and we'll find out who's an affirmative action hire. And we did that, and the person lost to me. I never see myself as an affirmative action hire. I never see myself as a token. I see myself as a copywriter who grew into a creative director, who grew into an agency owner. How others see me is the baggage they carry. And if you look at somebody and you see them as less, how can that person change what you see? And I'm not being mean about this, but it isn't my problem how you see me. My problem and issue becomes when you interact with me and how you treat me. And the fact that we think, when we get to thinking about inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion, we start thinking about, well, we're giving this person something because of how they look. No, you're allowing them to do the job without the bias and prejudice that have existed before. In a fair fight, in a fair race, that's why the Olympics are coming up. That's why everybody lines up on the damn same line for the 100 meters. The 100 meters is in the straightaway. So they actually line up on the same line. That is diversity, equity, and inclusion. If advertising was a race, white men have been 40 yards up ahead of everyone else. The hard question we have to ask is, if we have given such an advantage to one group, how do we correct it? We either move everyone up 40 yards or we move him back 40 yards. That's the hard truth, folks. Now, here's my personal opinion on that. We move everyone up 40 yards over time. We don't so easily celebrate the person 40 yards ahead winning when they were already ahead. We realize that there's a difference and we work to bridge that distance. We put policies, and David's going to love this because this is what our client this morning always says. We put protocols, policies, and procedures into place that lessens that gap. But you have to put action into this. Let's see.
Derek, I have a question.
Sure.
That I think I'm struggling with a little bit, and it's kind of what you just touched on. I'm currently in the middle of a hiring process for a communications role, and it's interesting to me because now, with the way that hiring happens with so many profiles and everything like that, a lot of times I have an idea of the person beyond like what a name on a resume. And so how does that play into, a hiring manager's process? If I have pictures of this person, I've seen, it changes, that immediate picture because it's more than just a name on a resume, so to speak.
Okay. Have you talked to Michael yet? Have you talked to Michael Johnson? I
am Michael Johnson. So yes, I talk to him every day.
Okay. And I'm being serious and funny at the same time. What we don't do is we don't recognize our own biases and our own prejudice. These two are different from racism. We're all biased and prejudiced. But what I'm saying is in part of your self-discovery, you figure out what you lean towards, right? I work actively not to see people's pictures because I'm like any other human being. We have certain cues that once I see you, I'm already making judgments and calls on you. It doesn't look like it because of this face and everything in this, where I'm at now, but I was a 400-meter runner. Most of my life, from 4th or 5th grade until I was about 29, I ran track. When I got into management, I realized I had a bias against people who were overweight because it had been drilled in me for decades that if I was overweight, I was lazy. And it came to me when I realized I was treating an employee differently because of their weight. This person did nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, they were a stellar employee, but those voices in my head from my coaches and my parents and everybody that you got to stay in shape because when you're in shape, your body's a temple. You do those things. And I looked at her and I apologized. But it changed me. She didn't have to change a damn thing. I needed to grow up. And I needed to realize what had been programmed in me. So when we look at resumes and when we're searching for people, before we begin that process, we need to think about what's been programmed into us. You know, I wish I could give you a form that you could just fill out and make it easier. But there's no form for this because you have to talk to Michael. I have to talk to Derek. Each one of us has to talk to whoever's in our lives, whoever we are. And then think about the decisions you make. It didn't hit me until I was in my 40s that I was seeing white guys on their potential. I am. But I was looking at black candidates on the reality of their resume. I'm a black guy and this is programmed into me through our society. You know? So think about, I got to deprogram me. And there's a lot of that we have to do. It's not easy. Lord, it's a lot of work. But think about, you know, I understand this generation, sorta, this young generation. I teach a couple of adjunct classes, but I don't look at their social media pages if I'm hiring, because they put stuff on there that I was raised you would never put that crap on. What, are you crazy? I understand and I steer clear of it because I know how it will shape my opinion of them. I want to know them, you know? I barely go to, because I'm gonna tell on myself and this is gonna get me in trouble. I hate reading the social media pages for copywriters. I lose all respect for some copywriters once I start reading their social media pages and their profiles. This is one of the brotherhood, and they wrote that crap. This is the best they could do when they had no boss. You read their LinkedIn profile and you go, really? You had no one to tell you what to write. And this is the best you can do. Now, art directors, I'm sorry, art directors, but I give y'all a wink and a nod because you were not writers. So I look at your profiles and go, oh, bless your heart. But I look at copywriters and go, I don't want to work with this idiot. So I know not to read their LinkedIn profile. I need to look at their resume and their portfolio, because I'm looking over at their LinkedIn profile going, he got lazy, she got lazy. You know, the resume is stellar. The cover letter is engaging and interesting. The portfolio has work that just is amazing. You get to the profile and it's like a brick, like a rock. It is who wrote this? It's like two separate people. So you see, I understand my bias. So no, I will not be looking at any copywriters' LinkedIn profiles. I barely read the copywriters about me page on their websites, because I'm reading it as a copywriter. It's like my son's a chef. Never ask him what he thinks of a dish, because he's seeing it as a chef. And you get your feelings hurt because he'll dial into, oh yeah, that it's. So to answer your question, Michael, when we're doing resumes and when we're looking for people, we sort of have to filter out whatever biases us. And whatever that is, you have to decide. You know, I've got friends here in the South who hate Northerners. I got friends in the North who think Southern accents are stupid, makes a human being stupid. It doesn't, by the way. Some really brilliant people have Southern accents. But you have to learn to filter out whatever you bring to the table. Let me look. Oh, let me go to Maria. She said, thank you. I think that my thought around this is when I see ads with diverse folks, but I know that the company doesn't do the internal work. It feels like tokenism to me. I appreciate this point of view. I think action is the way. Oh, Dave, there are a whole group of people beating me up on this because of brand purpose. I believe a brand should have a purpose. I don't believe a brand should be perfect, but I think they should be working towards it. So let me come back to what you're saying, Maria. Yes. When they show the United Nations of colors in their ads, but they're all white. No. Yeah, see, that's a problem. You know, and we have to understand that, and we have to communicate that to clients, but we also have to communicate that to our agencies. It's not only hiring Black talent in a commercial or an ad. What's the production team look like? What do your vendors look like? Who are your caterers and your photographers and your stylists and your hair people and your makeup folks? Oh, it gets real when we drill down. Serious question on one hand from David. Boo, David. On one hand, we need to act as if we are all equal. On the other hand, research demonstrates that people from diverse backgrounds create more innovative thinking. How do we balance that, asking diverse people to participate and add their perspective while assuming we're all equal? We are all equal. We just see things differently. You know, is an alto, is in a chorus, is a soprano really less than a baritone? No, they're different voices. There are notes for each one of them. That's the beauty of the director. The director brings all those voices together to make the song sound right. Advertising's a chorus. We need all those different sopranos, altos, tenors, baritones. I may be missing one or two.
But the point is we want to say, okay, you know, let's forget race, let's forget gender, let's forget all the differences. Yet, if you actively reach out and bring in a diverse thinking, your work is going to get better.
Yes.
So where do you know? So you're actually,
but you don't
saying you're actually choosing somebody because they're diverse and different. So are you I mean, I'm just trying to understand.
No, you're not. Okay.
Balance.
I'm looking at what needs to add to the team. You know, oh God, analogies are just going to be bombarding folks. I need a running back who can bang between the tackles. I don't need a running back that can go around the outside. I need a running back between the tackles. Am I devaluing the running back that can't go between the tackles, doesn't have the body for that? You know, we are building a diverse team, thinking what's missing from the team. You know, what's absent. If I've got 8 guys, I got 8 men and no women, I know I have a deficiency in women.
So isn't that affirmative action in practice though, then? By saying, oh no, I'm going to choose this one person because of their gender or their race or whatever.
No, I'm going to bring in whoever has the right voice for what I'm looking for. And at that moment, I'm looking for a softer voice. I'm not even softer, that's not the right term. I'm looking for a different voice. Yes, it's affirmative action. Yes, it's DE&I. I don't give a damn. Can they do the job? Am I bringing in somebody that cannot do the job? That's the question. You know, because too often what we say is, well, you brought that person in because she's a woman. No, I brought her in because she's sharp. I'm not hiring the village idiot, male, female, or whatever. But I also understand the parameters under which she has grown up. In this landscape, she has not been given the same opportunities as a white guy. So that being said, remember, I'm about bringing us all to the same line. I'm not moving the white guy further ahead. But I'm going to reach back, and we all are going to be doing that. That's an effort. There's no wrong in that. Where the wrong is when you're building your team. And we do this even with white guys. You got 2 white guys coming from Wyden and Kennedy, both worked on Nike, have the same resume. How do you pick one? I mean, I'm being totally serious, Dave. You and I are talking now. How do you pick which one if they have the exact same resume and criteria? You go off their personality, don't you? So you're going to be biased towards somebody. That's not. This is one of those bullshit arguments. Excuse my language, but it just pisses me off. And David riled me up, so y'all can blame David after this call. What we do is we pretend that we don't make these choices every damn day. This is just how when everything is equal, we still pick somebody based on something. What I'm saying and what everybody else is saying is we should do our best not to only go to one group, default to one group. I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, Devin Owens.
So did I answer?
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Devin Owens, I think just touched on what you were just touching on. A lot of it boils down to where you're looking and how you're looking to find those hires. Mm-hmm.
And you and I talked about this earlier. So let's talk real right now. Most Black people don't want to relocate to Omaha. We don't. I couldn't get out of Dallas fast enough. I'm sorry, I came to Columbia, South Carolina. I really wanted to be someplace, but, and I mean, this is bigger for you guys because I think it's the groups that are running this are almost statewide, right? Okay, so part of this, and this is going to seem like a contradiction to what I said earlier. Part of this is you guys are going to have to grow the talent internally. And internally, I mean in state. You got to plead your case in state with the minority population that you have. But you got to also understand the brain drain that happens from small cities to big markets. We all see that and we all fight with that. But to ignore it is stupid. It's fatal. Now, let's look at how work was changed under COVID. Your agency needs a more diverse team. Well, guess what? We don't have to be, well, Southern states seem to think this, but I don't. I think we need to rethink how we work. Does an employee have to be to work all 5 days in the office? I don't think so. We just proved that. So now what happens if you hire somebody to work in Nebraska who comes from Dallas? Can they come in for 3 days and go home for the rest? Can they work remotely from the rest? Can people commute like that? We got to get creative. You know, that phrase coming out of my mouth just pissed I'm just going to have to go off on a tangent for a second. It is amazing that I have to say to a group of people that run creative agencies that we have to goddamn get creative. Think about that, people. This isn't a black or white thing. This is my rant on advertising right here. We understand that our people don't have to be physically present every day of the week. So we can cheat. We can have somebody who lives 300-400 miles away who flies in every now and then. Southwest flies in, great rates, you know? There are ways to do this, you know, that I believe creatives need to be in the same space. I believe there's, in collaboration, it helps that we're physically in the same location. But how do we do that? Now that we've seen that we can work from, many of us can work from home. We went a year doing that. And the world didn't burn. But yet and still, now that we've gotten back and we're trying to get back to normal, the first thing we want to do is require people to go back to work 5 days a week in the same office. But we have a problem because we can't attract great thinkers to our markets. And I'm saying great thinkers, period. You're not getting A-list creatives to come to Oklahoma, to Nebraska, or come to Oklahoma, to come to Iowa. Iowa's a big one. You can't get them. I can't get A-list. I'm on the East Coast, one of the original 13 colonies. A great place to live is South Carolina. We are so much better than you Nebraskans, but don't worry about it. You'll one day grow to be like us. That's the arrogance of the South. I'm sorry, it just leaks out every now and then. And I can't get A-list folks to come to South Carolina. We have more golf courses than any other state in the union. 1/3 of our state is beach. And hot talent looks at us and goes, no. What in us then, as an agency owner, what in me goes, well, maybe I might need to change. Maybe the work model needs to change so I can attract these people. I think we have to do that. I don't know why our resistance is that we want to see people work. Freelancers have been working remotely for decades and getting the job done well. So let's get to some of these questions, but I think that's what has to change to bring people to your market. You got to get creative. You guys are practically, how far is Dallas from you?
8 hours drive.
8 hours?
10 maybe.
What's the closest big city?
Kansas
Suck at
City.
geography.
You've got Chicago on one side of us, Denver on the other side of us, about equidistant. Kansas City's 3 hours south. Minneapolis is 6 hours northeast.
Look at what VML is doing in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Kansas City. I don't want to live there. Good food. Burn-ins are all right the first day, but after 1 or 2 plates of burn-ins, I mean, come on. what's in Kansas City besides Hallmark? Okay, no, I'm sorry. And they got a baseball team and a sorry football team. But either way,
Ooh.
I'm a Steeler fan. Everybody has a sorry football team. But think about, why wouldn't then somebody from Kansas City be able to work in Nebraska? It's a 3-hour. It's a 3-hour drive or a 3-hour flight.
Drive.
Oh, it's what, a 45-minute and an hour flight? That means the plane goes like this, and then the plane goes like that. Hey, Southwest flies everywhere. Make it part of the compensation package that you have the tickets for them to fly in and out. It's not that much more. It really isn't. So, I mean, how do we attract people is the key question. I think we get creative about it.
Derek, you mentioned some of the questions. There's one that I don't want to lose from Rebecca. And I'm going to just say it verbatim. As someone without a title, how might I translate grow up and check your bias to someone with a title during the hiring process? Specifically, I've seen frustration about working to expand outreach channels, again, where people are looking for those hires. And the attitude seems to be that the myth that the talent must not exist in Nebraska.
Where's Rebecca? I'm sorry. I like that question. I've sort of got a question for Rebecca. Are you talking about in the interview process?
Yes.
Okay.
As part of a hiring committee, I am someone without a title watching, they're looking for my opinion. I appreciated the way you talked about the myths, the check your bias. How do I say that to someone with a title who might be sensitive to that?
Oh, well, let's be honest. It's saying that to anybody that's sensitive, because that's one trip to the HR. You piss the wrong person off, you're going to HR over this anyway. Maybe it's not to say it at all. But okay. Once again, let's get creative. If I know this person on the hiring committee has this bias, right? Then why don't I start inviting them to art shows and stuff ahead of the hiring process when we're not hiring? See, because what I'm trying to do is change how that person thinks. Expose them to creatives and thinkers in the city and around the city, around the market, that are local. Because over time, you're dealing with a large stone, and you're a grain of sand in the wind. Over time, it'll cut it away. We would love for them to change immediately. Let's be totally honest. No behavior changes immediately and sticks. It takes time. What's it, 21 days to develop to change a behavior? So that's how agencies were indoctrinating people about their culture. They brought someone in and they whittle away at what they don't want. See, in the interview, you can't, there's the problem. Once we're in the interview, it's done. Now, even if this is the CEO, does this person have someone they listen to that you know of? That person may not be as sensitive. So you you work it around. You get those who can help you to help you. And what we don't, and it's a strategy. I'm sorry, I hate losing. So if I know I can't go to David, because David is, every time I say something to him, he just flies off the handle because he's a little snowflake. And he's a friend, so I can pick him. Then I go to Rebecca, who he has a relationship with, and I go, Rebecca, I'm trying to get David to see this. Can you help me figure out how if you agree with me, how do we get him to see this? See, now Rebecca can go and say it to him in a way that I don't, that doesn't offend him, because you have a relationship with it. What we do, though, is we wait till we're in that situation. When the battle is really way before we enter the room. So what I'm doing is I'm ahead of time. The hiring committee should be getting like little emails. I do this. And I'm giving away all these tricks, and I'm hoping nobody that works with me is listening, other than David doesn't count because I'm talking about my team in this area. I send out emails about, like I posted about Leo Burnett's when to take my name off the door, because I wanted my team to feel a certain way. I didn't come out and say, I need you to feel a certain way. I gave them a video of somebody being inspiring, and they're starting to pick up on it, and the conversations are starting to switch to where I need them to be. We are advertising people, folks. We are the great manipulators. Why don't we use this power on our own to change how we feel or think? And that's what we're really doing. So, you know, trust me, I understand there are no great videographers in the state of South Carolina, according to everybody in South Carolina. So I intentionally introduced them to the young directors and videographers coming up, because it's a myth. So what you have to do is beforehand, how are you framing, even without a title? And let me tell you, a title is just a word. The real power is in that person that can move the group. And you can move the group through your behavior before the group gets in that room. Now, I hope the rest of your group isn't on this call, but what you're going to do then is you're going to start sending emails and communications about things that address what you're having an issue with, not just with one person, but with everyone. So you're not picking on me. What you're doing is you're getting the team on the same page. Now, if the people with the title are smart, they see your behavior and go, Rebecca's taking this over. And they step back a little to let you drive. I'm not going to speak for them, but that's what I would do. You got this now. You're sending out these emails about great talent locally and all of this, and you're exposing us. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, well, maybe Rebecca can find somebody locally for this. Look at what happened. You got the power now. Manipulation 101. I will be teaching this course in the next 2 weeks. Yes, I learned this from a wife. I woke up one day and there was a different person. I'm like, how did this happen? And she's like, I don't know. What happened? Liar. She knew exactly what she was. Dance, puppet, dance. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have any more?
We had a question about how somebody could follow you, or what is the best way to connect with you outside of ONBrand?
I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter, it's you guys asked. I don't even know my. Well, I will supply. Can we put that in the links in the comment, the chat?
Absolutely. Somebody with the pink background will do it, I'm sure.
Okay, somebody's gonna drop my. I'm easy to reach. How many people are in here? 101. Jeez. You can put my email in there too. Crap. That email's, I protect my email. I'm easy to reach. I think though, no, not anymore. Let's see. Did we have any other good questions that I need to hit?
We've had some good conversations. We haven't had a whole lot of questions since Rebecca's, I don't think, kind of looking through here.
There's, oh, you wrote that about marketing Omaha?
Yeah, yep, we were having a little side conversation.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, here's the funny part is, you guys, we all join these associations, and then we still fight against each other. What made Portland and Seattle, and David, I think you remember these because we are old. All this gray hair, we're old enough to remember it. San Francisco, Minneapolis, some of the great markets in the advertising markets in the 90s, they put aside their differences and promoted their area, their market. I went to the Minneapolis Creative Summit in 1994 and was blown away. They started the presentation with every shop in the association showing their 2 best TV commercials. And I thought, knowing advertising as well as I did being a junior copywriter in my first year, that would have been a short little show between Fallon and a couple of others. But 20 minutes later, I'm sitting there going, holy crap. These little shops are doing great work. But what they did is they had a mentality for a while where they were all moving together to make their market strong. You guys have these organizations, that's what you're going to have to do. We got to put in the work. I'm sad to announce that South Carolina will not be joining the coalition of progressively forward-moving folks. It's like coming back in time sometimes. We will end fight forever. But that's a good way to really get this done. You know, the organizations, we come together, we have a beer, we have, oh, wait a minute, we have oyster shucking because we're near the beach. I don't know what you guys do. Do you do steaks? Burnt end. Ugh, never mind.
We do IPAs and cornhole tournaments.
You know what? One more pet peeve. How did cornhole become a professional sport before kickball? How? I'm watching ESPN. There's nothing on, and lo and behold, Johnsonville Brats is sponsoring cornhole. Come on now. There were some other sports we could have gone with. A sport where you can hold a beer and throw a beanbag. Come on. Well, then again, that's golf, ain't it? Oh, never mind. But anyway, yeah. When am I coming to Omaha? David?
Hey,
Okay.
I tried. I tried.
I know. Wait a minute. Anne, are you serious? Is there a testicle festival?
Yeah. That could be a whole other side conversation.
Is that mountain oysters or cow or calves? See, in the South South is pork, so it's mountain oysters. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God. Ugh. I've had them already, but never mind. But here's I really want to open it. I was hoping to get, how much time do I have, or am I done?
Got about 12 minutes.
Okay, questions. Please give me a question, because I want to make sure we're okay with this. Diversity, inclusion, and equity has to be from the top down. It has to be purposeful. You got to have a plan. And in that plan, please place a budget. If you do not supply the budget to enact the plan is just a piece of paper. We cry and complain about clients that do not give us the budgets we need. If you're going to take an action, you need a damn plan that has the teeth. And you need someone in leadership to own it beyond a DE&I person. Somebody who's part of the power structure of the agency. Because when that person says jump, then everybody understands we got to jump. Get out in the damn community, folks. There are Hispanics and Black folks all over this marvelous little country of ours. And let's not pretend what we do requires special training. Let's not, please. We really, come on, folks. I don't even know if we require college degrees. We don't, you know? So let's take advantage of those folks who aren't going to lead the community, who aren't going to lead the city. You know, they're creative folks all over the place. And when I say creative, I'm talking about account service too. I have gone to car dealerships and gone, dear God, that person needs to be an account service person. You know, we've got to get out of this. Well, I need an ad person. You know, coming from the media companies, and everybody has media companies because we still have TV and radio and outdoor and everything else. There's some media planners sitting in these media companies who can work at ad agencies. You see, I mean, how creative are we really being in finding talent? The salespeople from the TV and the radio stations, they're killing us on the local market because they're selling crappy, and I'm sorry if there are any of them in the meeting, they're selling those crappy $500 packages where you get 3 spots a month that they're going to produce anyway. If they can sell people on that, they can sell clients on our services.
Derek, sorry.
Go ahead.
We have a question from Aaron, which I would love to hear your thoughts on too. Any advice on how to mentor younger creatives, and in particular creatives who come from a different background or lived experience than you might have yourself?
Yes. Make it less of a mentorship and more of a partnership. I have learned so much I grew up in a mixed community, always. And what I'm about to say is the same for this. So, but I really and truly, when I moved to Milwaukee, I didn't understand what it was to live in Milwaukee. But I was partnered with somebody who grew up and spent his entire life in and around Milwaukee. So as much as this white guy from Milwaukee has to learn about the Black guy from Atlanta, the Black guy from Atlanta needs to learn about the white guy from Milwaukee. So I think what happens is when we mentor, we want to be scholarly and sage and all of this, but why don't we be human? And make it more of a partnership. I do not understand TikTok. Never will, probably not. But when you bring in somebody who's from a different community, start asking questions, you know, and make it a conversation. And that way they're learning from you, but you're learning from them. And I push on this because I can instill the standards of what we think copywriting is. But I gotta learn how these young people are writing on social media, how they're talking and communicating. It makes me a better writer. So I'm not always teaching and mentoring. I'm like, well, why did you do this? Or why do you choose this path? And I give them a chance to explain, and they're like, what, should I have gone a different route? No, I just want to know why you did that. You know, what's this mean? It takes some of the power away from the person, supposedly the mentor, and gives it to the mentee. But it's a better relationship if we're both learning, isn't it? And explain and be totally honest. I sit down with people and I explain that I am Black. Not that you can miss it, but I come to the table with a different set of experiences and backgrounds. I live in the same society that everyone else does, that who's white, but it's still different from me, how I move through this world. You know? So biggest thing ever, and it's an example. My art director, who grew up in Ohio, will walk into a grocery store and he will open a bag of potato chips and he'll start eating before he gets to the cash register. And I stopped. I was like, Randall, are you crazy? He's like, what? I was like, I can't do that. Said, no, man, I'm gonna pay for him. Like, no, trust me. In my world, that doesn't happen. It's like, oh, you bullshitting me, man. Go ahead, open the bag. I cracked the bag. I don't even get the bag fully open. The manager goes, are you gonna buy that? Appears out of nowhere. Now, I'm not harping on the manager, but it's the dialogue between me and Randall now. Because Randall's like, whoa, it is different for you. I'm like, yeah, it's different for you. I didn't know you guys could open stuff and eat it in the store. You know, my whole world has been expanded. I'm like, really? Okay. Now our conversations have a little bit more balance to them because we see each other. So when you bring this person in and you're talking music and culture and food and family and all of this, listen. Do you hear what that person's saying? Now, what happens is now you can explain to me as a mentor, I can explain to you why I write this way. But you have a trust between us now. We don't build trust. We just want to go straight to mentoring. We got to build trust, people. If you do not trust me, nothing I say to you matters. So you just can't go and be, so don't put down the cape, take the S off your chest. Don't go in as a superhero trying to save somebody. But try being a human being wanting to get to know another human being. The best mentors have always been the people who took the time to understand who I was, who I am. And I have 3, Ken Bowes, Paul Council, and, oh, I'm sorry, I just went, Barry King. And I'm 57 years old, and I still call them for advice. And we still talk barbecue too, because all 4 of us barbecue. But anyway, let's see.
Derek, we only have a couple of minutes left, and we had a question. This might be a great way to wrap it up from, and I just lost it, from Isabel on, are there any podcasts, books, other media that you would recommend? She asked specifically about inclusive diversity, but also just maybe creativity in general. Any recommendations on the way out?
The Disruptors podcast, I love. There's Cut the Crap. I don't know if they're technically a podcast, but I like them. As far as, there's nothing on DE&I I really am feeling right now. But on creativity, the Disruptors, which is Rob Schwartz at TBWA. Cut the Crap is a good one. David, who's Burns? Does that podcast with Goldstein out of Seattle or something? I have to figure it out.
David
Byrne. Yeah.
Former Omahan.
Yeah, but he does it with Dan Goldgear, and it's a pretty good one on creative. Books. Look, if you haven't read Hey Whipple Squeeze This, you hadn't read anything. What's Lewis's book? Damn Good Advice for Creative People. Really short read. I still like for young people, I like for people to want to be creatives to read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Tom Hopkins is a hack. Let me quit. They're Hopkins fans, they're Carnegie fans. But Dale Carnegie's book is centuries old. It's over 100 years now, I think. And it is an amazing book on human nature. Creators, I think, need to pick up comic books a little bit. They're expensive, but I love how they can continue a story across episodes. I think that's it.
Excellent. Well, and that brings us, Derek, right up to the time. And I want to thank you on behalf of everybody here. And if